You are not where you want to be. Not because you're incapable, not because you're unlucky, but because you haven't yet forced yourself to believe it's possible. That's the truth. That's the root. That's what's been holding you back. And until you face that squarely, nothing changes. You stay where you are, stuck, spiraling, convincing yourself you'll move tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes for the man who lacks belief. The world doesn't hand belief out like candy. It demands that you earn it. And here's the brutal part. You have to earn it before you see any evidence that you're on the right track. That's why most never make it. Because belief without proof feels insane. But it's not insanity, it's vision. It's discipline. It's the foundational requirement for every success story that's ever existed. If you're waiting to believe after the world claps for you, you're already lost. The crowd only cheers for those who step onto the field, not for those who stand in the stands waiting to be invited. This is your wake-up call. No one is going to believe for you. That's your job. It always has been. It always will be. What's the first step? Simple. You make a decision. Not a wish. Not a hope. Not a vague intention. A decision. You decide. I'm the man who believes. I'm the man who shows up. I'm the man who moves before anyone says go. You make belief your identity. Not your emotion. Not your passing thought. Your identity. That means you stop acting like the man you've been. You stop shrinking. You stop doubting. You stop rehearsing failure before the task has even begun. And you start behaving like the man who already won. Understand this clearly. Belief isn't just about thinking differently. It's about becoming different. It's about operating as if the outcome is inevitable, not optional. What does that look like in the real world? It means you wake up with urgency. You plan like it matters. You show up like you're paid already. You don't wait for motivation. You don't negotiate with your feelings. You execute daily, precisely, relentlessly, and when you don't feel like it, that's the moment you lean harder. Because belief is not built on perfect conditions. It's built in resistance. You don't grow your belief on the days when it's easy. You grow it on the days when it's dark, when no one is watching, when quitting sounds like peace. That's when you decide again, I'm still him. I'm still building. I'm still going. The man who believes before anyone else does, he wins. Not because he's better, but because he's earlier. He's earlier to decide, earlier to commit, earlier to build. And that head start compounds. But what's stopping you? It's not the market. It's not your past. It's not your environment. It's your hesitation. Your internal war between who you are and who you pretend to be. You say you want it, but do your habits match that statement? You say you believe, but do your actions align? You can't fake belief. You can't perform your way to it. You prove it by the way you move. When there's no proof, no audience, no promise. And if your answer to all of this is, I don't feel ready, then let me remind you, readiness is a lie. You're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to act anyway. Belief makes you ready. That means the quicker you move, the faster belief builds. Let's break that down practically. You wake up, you don't want to work, you move anyway. You face rejection. You show up again. You hear criticism. You execute harder. You feel tired. You anchor to your why. Every time you override the weak voice inside, you deposit belief into your identity. You become the man who can be trusted with vision. And over time, others start to notice, not because you told them, but because you proved it. You become undeniable, not by talking louder, but by living louder. Understand, belief is not loud in words. It's loud in presence. It radiates through how you carry yourself, how you treat your craft, how you respond to adversity. Belief is not begging for support. It's moving as if it's already done. Let me ask you directly. When was the last time you acted like the outcome was guaranteed? When was the last time you spoke with the authority of a man who knows? Because the version of you that hesitates is not real. That's the conditioned self. The one shaped by fear, by failure, by the opinions of people who've done nothing. But beneath that noise is a version of you that's ready, now. And you don't need another book, another video, another motivational quote. You need to believe now before anyone else does. You need to claim what's already yours. That dream, that vision, it didn't come to you on accident. It was planted in you for a reason. And your job is not to second guess it. Your job is to become the man capable of holding it. That begins with belief. Now you might be asking, but what if I fail? Let me answer that clearly. You will. Not once, many times. And that's where most stop. But belief doesn't say, I'll try until it breaks. Belief says, I'll keep going until I break through. Every failure becomes feedback. Every misstep becomes refinement. Every delay becomes development. You begin to understand that failure isn't final. It's formative. It's making you sharp, making you resilient, making you real. There is no great man without great pain. There is no belief without battle. You don't get to escape the cost of greatness. You embrace it. You pay with time. You pay with consistency. You pay with emotional labor. You pay with relentless standards. But what you get in return is freedom. Freedom to move without fear. Freedom to build without limits. Freedom to speak without apology. Freedom to live without hesitation. And that's what belief buys you. Freedom. So where do you go from here? You start building the life your future self will thank you for. You don't need anyone else's approval. You don't need the circumstances to be perfect. You don't need all the answers. You need belief and action. Belief that you are capable, called, and committed. Action that matches that belief not once but every day. And when belief and behavior align, you become unstoppable. Not someday. Now. You do not get stronger by wishing for strength. You become stronger by testing the limits of your belief when everything inside of you is screaming to quit. That is the moment belief is built. Not when things go your way, but when nothing does and you keep going. This is what separates the uncommon man from the ordinary. The uncommon man doesn't need applause, doesn't wait for ideal conditions. He creates momentum where none exists. He sees a wall, and instead of turning back, he learns to scale it because he believes it is possible. Not because someone told him so, but because he decided. Decide. That is the word that will define your future. Every time you delay action, you reinforce doubt. But every time you decide to move, even when uncertain, you strengthen belief. That is the price. Belief is not free. It must be purchased through decision. You need to look yourself in the mirror and ask, am I moving like a man who believes in himself? Or am I moving like a man hoping for a miracle? Miracles do not visit the passive. They do not find the man who folds. They visit the relentless, the ones who show up when others sleep, the ones who keep their word in silence, the ones who do not need to post about it because they're too busy becoming it. That is belief in action. I want you to understand this deeply. Every small action you take is casting a vote for the man you're becoming. So when you hit snooze, that's a vote against belief. When you skip your discipline, that's a vote against belief. When you let fear dictate your moves, that's a vote against belief. But when you rise early, that's a vote for belief. When you push past tiredness and still execute, that's a vote for belief. That's a vote for belief. When you push past tiredness and still execute, that's a vote for belief. When you say, I'll do it, and you actually do, that's the strongest vote of all. Stack those votes. Stack them daily. Because belief doesn't erupt like an explosion. It builds like a brick wall, quietly, relentlessly, one layer at a time. And it stands strong because you didn't cut corners while building it. Let me make something clear. Believing in yourself before anyone else does is not arrogance, it's responsibility. Arrogance needs to be seen. Belief needs only to be demonstrated. You demonstrate belief through your work ethic, through your focus, through the way you handle rejection without falling apart. Every time life says, you're not ready, and you move anyway, you're shaping the character required for success. You want to outlast your competition? Outbelieve them. They may be faster. They may have more resources. But most of them don't have the endurance to keep believing through the dry seasons, through the stretch of days where nothing seems to move. That's where you gain ground, when belief is all you have and you choose to keep moving. If you want to lead, to build, to break out of average, you must first learn to walk through fire with your belief intact. Most men crumble under criticism. But if you're going to rise, you have to train yourself to eat criticism for breakfast and still execute at dinner. They said you wouldn't make it. Show them how wrong they were. Quietly, powerfully, unapologetically, because belief is not about shouting louder. It's about standing taller, internally. You don't have to argue when you're certain. You don't have to justify when you know. Let the world argue. You work. Let the world debate. You build. Let the world doubt. You believe. Because here's what will happen. They will eventually stop laughing when they see you keep showing up. They'll stop ignoring when they see your results. They'll stop doubting when they realize you've become undeniable. And by then their belief won't even matter because you already won. That's what belief before recognition does. It gives you a head start they can't recover from. But you need to protect that belief like your life depends on it, because it does. Everything you want, your freedom, your legacy, your fulfillment, it all rides on whether you believe enough to keep going when no one else claps for you. You have to be the one clapping. You have to be the one writing your story before it becomes popular to read. You have to be the one building the staircase before anyone believes there's a second floor. And as you keep building, something powerful happens. Your internal compass sharpens. Your focus deepens. Your pace increases. And your distractions fade because you're now obsessed with the mission. That obsession is not unhealthy. It's what creates results that last for generations. Because here's another truth. The world doesn't follow the talented. It follows the certain. Certainty is not something you inherit. It's something you build, moment by moment, through every courageous action you take in silence. You want to become a man of belief. Then stop asking, how long will this take? And start asking, how far can I go? That shift alone will change your life. Your timeline isn't the issue. Your tolerance for discomfort is. Because belief only builds when you choose discomfort over convenience. It's easier to coast, easier to delay, easier to wait for more clarity. But ease is not your ally, discomfort is. Discomfort is the gym where belief is trained. So ask yourself, are you willing to get uncomfortable daily? Willing to be misunderstood? To work without praise? To grind without evidence? If the answer is yes, then you're ready to step into the rarest room in the world, the room of men who believe first. This is the room where revolutions are born, where records are broken, where history is rewritten. But you don't get there by accident. You get there by deciding right now that your belief is stronger than your excuses, that your desire is louder than your fear, that your vision is more urgent than your doubt. Belief is not a feeling. It is a command. and it is waiting for you to obey. Let this be the day you stop playing small. Let this be the moment you stop outsourcing your belief to other people's opinions. Let this be the turning point where your life finally aligns with what you know you're capable of. You don't have time to wait. The man you're becoming needs you to move now. The future version of you, the one who has built, succeeded, influenced, changed lives, he's already watching. He's asking one question. Will he step up today? Will he believe before anyone else does? Answer him, not with words, not with another plan, with action. The kind of action that silences your doubt. The kind of action that scares you a little. The kind of action that tells the world, this man isn't here to fit in. He's here to take over. That is the power of belief in motion. And once you taste it, you never go back. You've come this far because some part of you, maybe buried, maybe trembling, believed. And now that belief is beginning to take shape. But here's where most falter. They think belief is a one-time ignition. Light the fire, and it will burn forever. But belief doesn't work like that. Belief must be fueled daily, ruthlessly, intentionally. The moment you stop tending to it, doubt will crawl in. And doubt is patient. Doubt doesn't knock, it waits for fatigue, for a moment of silence, for your guard to slip. And when it does, it whispers all the things you thought you'd outgrown. You're not enough. This is too much. Who do you think you are? And the old you, the version of you that entertained doubt, that hesitated, that apologized for dreaming too loud. He'll try to come back, but this time, you're ready. This time, belief isn't just a spark. It's become your armor. You don't beg for results, you expect them. You don't wonder if you're on the right path. You declare it. Because belief, when disciplined, becomes certainty. And certainty changes the way you walk into rooms, into conversations, into challenges. It becomes part of your presence. People don't follow those who guess. They follow those who know. And how do you know in a world full of uncertainty? Because you've seen what happens when you execute in private. You've watched your habits compound. You felt the internal shift. You've become someone you trust. Most men can't trust themselves because they've broken too many promises to themselves. They say they'll rise early, but they don't. They say they'll launch the business, but delay. They say they'll level up, but coast. And over time, they don't believe their own voice anymore. But you're changing that. Every day you keep your word to yourself, your voice regains strength. Your word becomes law. Your schedule becomes sacred. Your mission becomes non-negotiable. You stop chasing hype and start producing substance. This is when the world begins to notice, slowly at first, then all at once. But by the time they do, it won't matter, because you didn't do it for them. You did it for you. You did it because you finally got tired of outsourcing your confidence. You did it because the vision inside of you was louder than the doubt outside of you. And now that belief is embedded in your identity, your decisions become different. You no longer move out of desperation, you move from design. You don't hustle to prove, you execute to build. Every step is precise. Every hour has weight. Every breath is aligned. That is the power of internal belief. You're no longer pulled by the noise of the world. You're pulled by conviction. And conviction, my friend, is undefeated. It doesn't rely on applause. It doesn't care who's watching. It's driven by who you said you'd become. And when you live like that, your environment starts to respond. Doors open. People shift. Resistance breaks. Not because the world changed, but because you did. The world mirrors your inner standard. Raise your belief, and the world will rise to meet you. Keep shrinking, and the world will happily ignore you. That's the law. The law of internal energy. The law of personal frequency. And here's something most never hear. Belief is transferable. When you walk in belief, you ignite others. Your posture becomes permission. Your commitment becomes contagious. Your results become a roadmap. You become more than just a man on a mission. You become a man with influence. But you cannot influence what you do not embody. So ask yourself, what am I transferring today? Am I transferring fear or certainty? Am I transferring doubt or direction? Am I transferring noise or truth? You don't need to yell to be heard. You need to be clear. Clarity is loud, and belief births clarity. You want to build an empire? Start with internal clarity. Know who you are, know what you stand for, know where you're going, and then move like it. Because the man who moves with belief commands the room. He doesn't wait to be chosen. He chooses himself and builds his own table. He doesn't sit in the corner wondering if he's good enough. He owns the floor with quiet intensity. This is the man you're becoming. Not someday. Now, but only if you stop negotiating with the lesser version of yourself. Kill the version of you that seeks comfort over calling. Kill the voice that says, maybe. Kill the pattern that waits for permission. Because belief doesn't ask, it acts. Belief doesn't hope, it executes. Belief doesn't whisper, it leads. And when belief leads your life, fear loses its grip. Now don't misunderstand me. Fear won't disappear. But it will no longer control the narrative. It becomes a passenger, not a driver. You nod at it, acknowledge it, and keep moving anyway. That is where power lives, not in fearlessness, but in movement despite fear. That is belief in its truest form. So if you want to become the man who changes his family's future, who builds something eternal, who walks with undeniable confidence, you must feed belief every day. Feed it through action, feed it through discipline, feed it through decisions that align with your highest self. And when the day comes that someone says, I always knew you could do it, you'll smile, not because they finally believe, but because you never needed them to. You already believed. You already decided. You already became. This is the moment. Belief goes from being something you practice to something you are. They told you belief was just an idea, something you either had or you didn't. They were wrong. Belief is not passive. Belief is not inherited. Belief is a muscle, and most men have never trained it. They've allowed it to wither from neglect, waiting on external praise to revive it. But you now understand the truth. Belief is earned daily, intentionally, viciously. It's the result of 1,000 small decisions, quiet ones that say, I will not fold, I will not wait, I will become. This belief isn't for sale. It cannot be borrowed. It cannot be outsourced. It must be forged in solitude, in silence, and in suffering. When no one claps, when no one sees, when no one believes but you. And those moments, the ones where most shrink, are now the moments where you rise. Because belief is no longer a theory for you. It's not just a strategy. It's who you are. Let me tell you something men never hear enough. You don't need anyone to believe in you. Not your friends, not your parents, not your spouse, not your co-workers, not the marketplace, not the critics, not the audience, because the world always follows the man who believes first. The applause is delayed, the recognition is withheld, the support is reserved until you win. Then it all shows up. But by the time they see it, you'll be too deep in your mission to notice. Because your validation didn't come from applause, it came from alignment. And that's the moment you've been building toward. Not just success, but internal security. That feeling of knowing I don't need the world to crown me, I've already claimed myself. You have become the man who no longer waits. You initiate. The man who no longer doubts, he decides. The man who no longer explains, he executes. That is who you are now. And it didn't happen because you repeated affirmations. It happened because you acted through resistance. Every time you moved when it was hard, you carved belief deeper into your identity. You became solid. You became still. You became unshakable. And that kind of man, he becomes a magnet. He doesn't need to seek opportunity, it finds him. Why? Because the universe is designed to respond to certainty. When you walk in belief, you attract the right people, the right moments, the right momentum, and even more powerfully, you inspire it in others. You think this journey was just about you? It never was. It was about what your life would model for others. You don't change the world by shouting. You change the world by becoming an example. Your belief becomes their permission. Your conviction becomes their clarity. Your endurance becomes their hope. So now the responsibility has shifted. It's not just about achieving your dreams. It's about embodying belief at such a high level that others begin to believe in themselves just by watching how you move. And make no mistake, they are watching. They may not say it. They may not show it. But they are watching you rise. And in time, they will ask you, how did you do it? Your answer won't be complicated. It will be honest. I believed before anyone else did. I believed when it hurt. I believed when it was lonely. I believed when it was silent. And I never stopped. That will be your legacy, not just what you built, but how you believed. And now that belief has taken root. You have a new assignment. Guard it. Because success will tempt you to forget. Comfort will try to soften your edge. Praise will try to distract you. But you must stay sharp. Belief got you here. But only discipline will keep you here. So you continue. You wake early. You refine your mind. You sharpen your focus. You review your values. You train your body. You protect your time. You execute without drama. You speak with authority. You create without apology. You rest with purpose. You move with intent. And all of it rooted in belief. This is how you become the man who is no longer moved by emotion, no longer tossed by opinion, no longer triggered by resistance. Because when you operate from belief, you stop reacting and start leading. Your belief becomes a compass, a map, a force. And no storm, no critic, no failure can take that from you. Because you earned it. You became the man who forced belief into his bloodstream before the world offered him a single reason to do so. And now, you're free. Free to pursue without fear. Free to speak without censorship. Free to build without begging. Free to rise without flinching. Free to lead without compromise. But with that freedom comes duty. Because the man who has belief must give it back. You give it back by telling the truth. You give it back by showing up. You give it back by staying relentless. You give it back by living like a man who believes. So let the world stay asleep. Let them doubt. Let them mock. Let them laugh. But you move. You move like a man with vision. You speak like a man with certainty. You build like a man on a mission. And when they ask, who gave you permission to live like that? You look them dead in the eye and say, I did, because belief is not something granted. It's something you grant yourself. So grant it, own it, live it, right now. This is not the beginning of belief. This is the proof that belief, when backed by action, becomes unstoppable. You now carry something no one can take. You are the evidence. You are the example. You are the permission. You are the voice. You are the answer. And the world, it's watching, not to see if you fail, but to see if someone finally meant what they said. You do. You always did, because you forced yourself to believe before anyone else did. And now you'll never need them to.